Okay, hi. So on these first four problems, there's one of each type. There's a hyperbola, an ellipse, a circle, and a parabola. Not necessarily in that order, but there's one of each. And normally you see stuff in this fashion. Then there's a number over here, oops, and then you decide if it's a hyperbola or ellipse or whatever the item is. When there are x's to the first and x's to the y, that means you have to do the extra task of completing the square. And the first thing I'm going to do on this first one, this is a little bit of a challenge one. When the leading term has a negative sign in front, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite it as y squared minus x squared, because that means it's a hyperbola, because there's going to be a subtract between the squared items. But then I'm also going to put the items here in front of it. Okay, I mean next to each term. So I'm going to group the y's together and the x's together. So I'll start off with putting y squared minus 6y, and I'm going to leave some space. Then I'm going to put subtract x squared, subtract 6x, and this subtract 4, I'm going to add 4 to both sides. I'm going to leave some space and put 4. I'm going to move this down a little bit. All right, so now we're going to complete the square. Well, remember, there's a plus blank that will go there and a plus blank that will go there. And because we're going to, here, let me do this. Because we're going to add a term there and a term there, we have to add those terms to both sides. So remember what C is. C is half of B squared. So half of negative 6 is negative 3. Squared, you get 9. So we're going to add 9. We're going to add 9. Oh, that's another negative 6. So add 9, add 9. All right. And now this whole thing and this whole thing is a perfect square. So it's going to factor to a binomial squared. So you take the square root of y squared, the square root of 9, and then you always take that first operator. So we're going to do that over here, x squared minus 3, and then 4 plus 9 is 13, plus 9 is 22. All right, so let's see what we have. So now what we're going to do is, because on a hyperbola or ellipse we want 1 to be on this side, we're just going to divide now both sides. And then does it want you to graph? Oh, and then sketch the graph. All right. Oops. So let me condense this down one more time. Okay, so what this means is, now you have to graph it. Whoops, the square doesn't go there. All right, so the square root of 22, let's think about that. Because remember, the square root of this is how far we're going to go up or down, and the square root of 22 is how far we're going to go left and right. So we're dealing with the square. Well, the square root of 25 is 5. The square root of 16 is 4. This is 22 is much closer. So I'm going to estimate that maybe at about 5.8. And you could check that yourself. I don't have my calculator right here. So, and then because it is a y squared minus an x squared, we know the graph is going to be facing, the hyperbola is going to be upward and downward facing. And then now we just have to find the center. Well, the opposite of 3 is 3. So at 3, 3, is the center. And then we're going to go over. Oh, that should have been about 4.8. Sorry about that. So we're going to go over just short of 5. So if this is 3, we're going to go just before 8, and I'm going to put a vertical line. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5. And then up 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5. And then down 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5. And then you're going to draw that invisible square or rectangle. And then you're going to draw the invisible diagonals. And remember, with the diagonals, you want them to go pretty far off, because it's the diagonals that shape. Okay, and I'm going to do the hyperbola. So then what you do on the rectangle or square, since we're going up and down, that point right there and that point right there are the vertices. And then you follow the arrows of the diagonals just like that. Okay, for the next one, I have it set up. We have an x squared and a y squared, and the invisible numbers in front are the same. So this should end up being a circle. All right. There is an x to the first, but there is no y to the first. And we're going to subtract 8 on both sides. So that's what I did right here. I have that set up. And now we just have to complete the square of the x squared term. They really like these -6's. Okay, so half of -6 is -3. -3 squared is 9. So we're going to add 9 to both sides. And then we're going to square root of x squared is x. Square root of 9 is 3 with this subtract sign right there. Now notice there is no y to the first. So we're just going to leave this as y squared. And that means for the center, the y value is 0. The x value is 3, because the opposite of -3. So this is the center right there. And then -8 plus 9 is 1. Okay, and then remember, this right here is r squared, but the square root of 1 is 1. So this right here, right here, we're going to go over the radius of 1. I made the center dot really too big, so let me do this. So we're going to go over, up, over, down 1, and then just sketch your radius of 1 circle. All right, that's it for these two. I'll do another video for the next two.